you know what? I'll just say this. The grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned.
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you are new here, my name is Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. And in today's episode of what I call the Thread to Mend podcast, I'm gonna sit down and review with you all every current knitting project I have on my needles. It includes 2 that you've seen quite a bit of. I'm so close to finishing, and several others that I either just cast on or intend to cast on in the nearest future. And I have 1 project you have not yet heard of that I've thought a lot about and went back and forth on. Didn't want to buy more yarn in order to execute, and then suddenly yarn landed in my lap to make possible. So we'll get into that later. I thought at the beginning of this week's episode, I would review with you a little bit about the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival that is coming up next weekend. It is the first weekend of May, and it's over in West Friendship, Maryland, which is about 45 minutes from me here in Baltimore City. I do attend on Saturdays each year, so I won't be recording a podcast episode next Saturday while I'm at the festival, but I do intend to record plenty of content for you all to share as soon as possible. So I won't have a live premiere next Sunday morning at 9 a.m., but my hope is that I can somehow scrounge together a bit of a video for you all that Sunday still. So that's my goal. It just won't be the morning of, it'll likely be in the evening of Sunday next week, if possible. If not, I'll try to put it out on Monday so that I have somewhat of a weekly video still for you all, but that's my plan and my goal. And I don't want to go through all of the vendors and tell you about everything Maryland Sheep and Wool has to offer, but I will give you all some advice based on the guide. Now, when you go to the festival, if you go, and this applies to, I think, most festivals, they will give you a handout when you enter. It has a map and it has a list of vendors. And something that is really helpful, at least in years past at Maryland, I can't speak to this year because I don't yet have the guide in my hands, but it will list the vendors by name in alphabetical order and their location, but then it'll also list the vendors by their booth location. So if you're in a building and you want to know what other vendors are in that building before you move on to the next one, that's really helpful. And then they also list vendors by category. And by listing the vendors by category, if there's something you're on the lookout for, like buttons, you can see which vendors are selling buttons and where they're located. These fiber festivals offer so much more than fiber and yarn. You can find baskets, like handcrafted baskets, which are always pretty outside of my price range in terms of baskets. I do collect baskets at the thrift store and like IKEA, you know, those are up there in price. And I know that one year I will buy a handcrafted basket. That's how much I love baskets. So check out the baskets because they are truly works of art, and you know, they have everything possible listed by category, which I find really, really helpful. And my biggest piece of advice to you, well, there's 2 points I want to make. I forgot to mention my second point earlier, but essentially it is that when you decide you want to eat lunch, go find either on the schedule the sheepdog show or check out the sheep being shown in one of the barns, or there's always some entertainment happening. So get your food and then go watch something like that. If there's something that you really want to bring home from this festival, go there right away, because the sooner you get there, the more options you will have to choose from when you're shopping your favorite vendor or whatever it is that you're looking for. I would seek out your biggest take home, your biggest desire. I would seek that out first and foremost. Let's see, I get there early. I think that they open at 9. I'll have to double check before I head out the house. It takes, like I said, 45 minutes to drive there, but I actually want to be in line like a half hour before they open because I want to be towards the front of the line, and I really want a good parking spot because I always make at least one, if not two trips to the car, especially right after I buy my fleece. I don't want to carry my fleece around all day. So I get there extra early to get a spot close to the front so I don't have to walk so much and spend so much time walking. I'm walking all day long, so I want to minimize how much like necessary walking I have to do so that I can enjoy most of the walking I do that day. So I get there really early, I get in line early, and the first thing I do is I go to the wool barn because the thing I intend to take home above all else is a fleece. So if you're going to a fiber festival to buy a fleece or pottery or whatever, go there right away and you'll have the most options available to you. So I will be in the fleece barn as early as possible, and I'll probably spend about 45 minutes to an hour there. Now I know that I have put a form here online if you want to split a fleece. I'm going to close that form today because 5 of you have already responded, and myself included, that is 6 people to split 3 fleeces. Now I want to minimize the amount of time that takes, so I hope that if you're at Maryland and planning to split a fleece with me, you will meet up with us in the wool barn when the doors open because that is the goal. And I only hope to bring home half of one fleece to process myself. So hopefully everything will work out. I'm going to get in contact with those people today in preparation for the festival next weekend. But I did want to mention that that is happening. I'm super excited, and I think that's that on that. So I have so much to share with you all. The major project I wanted to focus on before I finish is the Slip Stravaganza by Stephen West. I am so close, y'all. I am so close to finishing this. I have loved working on this. I am just rows away from being done. It's just that the rows are so long and there's so many stitches. It is really like working a blanket at this point, and I have quite a few ends to weave in, but if I haven't said this before, I'll say it again. My intention is to focus intensely on this today and tomorrow. I want the ends woven in, I want it bound off by next week, and I would very much like to wear this to the festival if possible. I think it's striking, I think it's gorgeous. And it does feature a lot of my hand spun. Not all of it is hand spun. I would say it's about 50-50. Most of the contrast colors, 3 out of 4. So I really do love this project. I really want it finished because it's so big, and I feel like it's just taking up so much space in my projects pile that if I could just get this done, I could be well on my way to complete something else. So I really want to finish this. I have about 6, 7, maybe 8 rows to work before I can bind off. And I will say that takes quite a bit of time. I worked 4 rows last weekend and this was all I focused on. But if I don't have any hiccups with my pattern and testing or anything like that that's going to distract me from working on this, I'm fairly confident I can complete this project by next week. And that is going to be I have the yarn ball behind me here. Oh, sorry, Starb. If I focus on this intensely, I know that I can complete this by next weekend, and that is my goal. If I could wear this, that would be great. I think I'd probably wear it with this sweater because I think that they look really nice together. This is, of course, the iconic Woolen Honey pullover that I knit with Green Mountain Spinneries Lana yarn, one of my favorite yarns. They're definitely going to be at Maryland Sheep and Wool, so check out their booth if possible. And the very next project that I hope to complete sooner than later, I wish I hadn't just started a new row because then I could actually show you what's going on here, but it is very bright, very loud. It is Stephen West's Bubble Cardigan, and I'm about to finish the body. I'm cutting it a little bit short. I'm going to crop this cardie. So many other things that I really want to work on, and this is because it's like one special row for every 6 rows in total. It's a really good autopilot knitting project. I didn't think it would be at first because the bubble pattern was a little intimidating with the stitch technique, but it's so simple. It really is. Once you get into it, it's really easy to read, it's really easy to execute, and it's quite fun. And I don't even hate knitting it flat. I really don't hate to purl. So this one is a good car project, I think, as long as I can get the sleeves picked up to knit. And I might do 2 at a time with the sleeves just to make sure that they're the same, because a lot of the times I get second sleeve syndrome and I'm a little intimidated by, you know, whether I followed the pattern instructions perfectly or not, or whether I modified or not. It's sometimes easier to just, with these striped projects also, it's like easier to just kind of do them in sync with one another. So that might also be my plan. We'll have to see. This, I think, is going to be a little bit of a back burner project for a while, because I do want to start working this orange color into another project I've told you all about. So I don't know when this will be done exactly, but I would like to wear it in the fall. So I hope to have this done maybe by August at the latest. We'll see. I'm really not certain of that. There's so many projects that I've either swatched for or not yet even swatched for that are in this basket here. And the first is the one I showed you last week. I've made no progress on this. This is definitely a Sunday sit down and knit project, because there's a chart that I follow for every other row. And there's a lot going on because it's a full lace yoke. And I don't know that I'm going to pick this up until my slip Stravaganza is done, but I might make this my Sunday craft each week. So I make a little bit of progress on it here and there and hopefully have it done sooner than later. This would be a great knit to wear literally right now. I just don't know if I can, prioritize anything before the slip Stravaganza, and that is going to take priority so I can just find time for something like this. That's what I have going. What I have yet to start is right here in front of me. I have tucked away in this project bag a single skein of this very pretty, the shade is mustard, and it's the Patagonia Organic Merino by Juniper Moon Farms. This is yarn that I picked up years and years ago now at this point, that I decided would be the perfect yarn of my stash to knit a pattern I found on Ravelry. I have not committed the name of it to memory, but I will put it on the screen here for you to know, and I will share an image of this pattern so that you know what I'm talking about. But it is a cable, I think all over cable shawl, and I actually don't normally store the extra skeins in my project bag. My project bag will just be the yarn I'm working with, and then as needed I will skein up cake up a skein of yarn from my basket. I like to keep a single basket full of all of the extra yarn for all of my projects so that I always know where my yarn is, and then I only bring with me what I actually need to work on. So this is a project I have not yet swatched for. I think that I might, because it is a shawl and I know that I have plenty of the main color, I think that I might just cast on and start this project with the suggested needle size, as long as it's one that I'm comfortable working with, that I work with regularly with a base of yarn similar to this one, and just begin the process. If I were to imagine how it starts, it's probably from the top center, and I can probably work like a small triangle and get a concept of the gauge before I've made too many stitches on the needles. So I'm kind of, without even reviewing the pattern yet, I'm assuming how it will work up, which I don't know for a fact, but I'm thinking the beginning of the project can work as a swatch. That will, I think, probably take the place of my more complicated knit, which is the Celeste Tee. If I didn't mention the name of the pattern I had just shown you, it is the Celeste Tee, and it is being worked in my hand spun. Plenty of you already know that because you've seen my recent video where I talked a lot about this project. But I do want to work on this very, very soon, because I always try to knit my hand spun as soon as it's spun, because then I learn about how I want to change and tweak my techniques of spinning to optimize my hand spun yarn. This is something that I feel like it's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful pattern, and it's something that I want in my wardrobe more than most things. And it's been a while since I've made a very one color shawl. I have, well, it's not one color. There's a contrast color to the baubles at the very end. I just want more I want more flat pieces in my wardrobe. I love the slip Stravaganza, and I love that it's multiple colors, but it tells a very sort of cool toned, neutral color story. And I feel like this, I don't know, I wouldn't call it mustard, maybe like mustard powder. But this is like very neutral, very like basic. I feel like I could wear this with like a ton of different things. Like it doesn't even almost matter what I'm wearing beneath it. It'll match almost anything in my wardrobe. So that is something I really want to incorporate into my library of garments. So moving on, again, the pattern, I don't know, but that is something I really want to cast on, and I really want to work it because I think that I have the perfect yarn in my stash to do it. And similarly, there's another shawl, also by Stephen West. I wouldn't even say I'm a huge fan, because I'm not the type of Stephen West knitter to purchase and cast on his patterns the moment they're published. But you know, so many people do work his patterns that I'm easily inspired by the finished projects his testers or fans of him have knit, that I see their pieces and I think I want that in my wardrobe. A lot of the time his color stories lean towards like neon yellows and blues and teals and bright neons, and I'm not the most inspired by those color stories, but that's the really fun thing I think about Stephen West patterns, is you can really make them your own with whatever color story you prefer. And Casey over at the Young Folk Knits podcast featured in one of her shawl videos a gorgeous Vertex Unite shawl. I was leaning towards stripes because it's full of stripes. But the pattern is called Vertex Unite, and I pulled single skeins of fingering weight yarn out of my stash that I think would be perfect to knit this project. And two of them are also the Patagonia Organic Merino by Juniper Moon Farms. They are this black and orange combo. I have a skein of yarn that is, I think, probably 80 or 90 grams left over from a sweater from years ago that is the Fox Hill Farm yarn. It's a Cormo fiber, and it's a fingering weight yarn. I know. She demands the pets. But I have, so these three I think are really pretty together. And then I have a leftover skein of the Rambouillet from my recent sweater design. And then the very last fifth skein of yarn for this project, I think it's gonna make the cut. I'm not sure. I feel like it might be a little too off. I haven't 100% decided. I might instead incorporate a brighter, like high contrast gray or cream, something that I have available in my stash. I'm just not sure yet. I actually have a really pretty skein from Joseph and Ani that I might choose instead. But I do love this green color, and I would hate to not incorporate enough like colors in this. I don't know. I wonder what your thoughts are. Maybe I should pull out the alternative I'm thinking of. I think the one reason why I'm not 100% sure of this green skein is because all others are 2-ply and this one is a 3-ply. So the structure of the yarn is a little bit different, but they are all fingering weight yarns. So these are what I'm thinking about using for the Vertex Unite shawl. And I'm gonna grab the extra skein I'm thinking about using. I have here, see, I think that these might just be too similar. This Joseph and Ani from, what is that mill called? Abundant Earth Fibers out in Washington State. It is very similar to this one, but I think maybe the low contrast difference in these, girls, everywhere, all over. That was a bit of a disaster. I finished cleaning up, but I'm no longer in the mood. We're just gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this together. I'm gonna review with you the yarns that I have planned for near future projects, and I would really, really love your input on the options for my Vertex Unite shawl. I believe the pattern is published with 5 colors, so I was leaning towards this goldish sort of green, but I don't know if I love this color in combination with the others. I think I do. I think I'm a little adverse to color in general. Like, I just really love grays and neutrals, except when I don't. But I think that this could be a really fun shawl. Part of me is also leaning towards incorporating a hand spun skein, which I feel like really kind of fills out the gradient of colors here. Like, I mean, these are very close together, and although they're kind of on the same end of the spectrum of saturation, they are enough apart that I think that they would still look great together striped. I don't know that I would want to stripe the orange and the black because it might look a little Halloween-y, but I would be happy to stripe these two, or even these two. And I think that this might be the winning option for me. I think just one pop of color might be ideal, but let me know if you think I should incorporate another color into this design. I don't know that I would maybe I would stripe these two together, or maybe keep them on opposite ends of the project. I just have a lot of options here. And another option I was considering was a second sort of cream. They're different skeins, but they're so much alike that I don't know if this would be too basic. I don't want to have like a lot of high contrast striping, so I'm kind of leaning away from that and more towards this. I think that this might be an ideal mashup of colors because I really like the option of any one of these striped together, to be fair. So I think this might be my winning combination, but I would love to know if you have knit the Vertex Unite shawl by Stephen West. How many colors did you incorporate into yours? I think that I might pull out some colored pencils and do a little sketch of the schematic and see like which color combinations I would prefer to incorporate together and where. But I would love to know what your thoughts are if you've knit this project, and I look forward to reading those comments and suggestions, because I would love to know if you did more colors or fewer colors, or what what you would suggest in terms of combining colors for this project. Now I believe there's we have 3 more. We have 3 more projects to review. The next is the one I think I'm going to work on last, because it is a summer top and it's a pattern by Andrea Mowry called Velocore, and I knit this swatch with silk mohair yarn held double and a nice light fingering weight for the main color. I am just not sure that I want a silk mohair summer tee. Part of me thinks it might look really nice and feel very nice in terms of fabric on the hands, like when you're holding it and touching it, it feels so soft and lovely. But on sweaty, hot skin, I don't know that I'm gonna feel the same way about silk mohair. In fact, it's more like, actually, it doesn't even feel bad. On the neck, it's kind of scratchy, but like off the shoulder or like over the chest, I don't even think it's that uncomfortable. So I might maintain this project plan, but I was thinking about perhaps switching it up in terms of which yarns I choose to knit this with. So this is probably going to be the last project that I actually cast on and knit, even though it's one of the few patterns I hope to wear the soonest. I think it might just have to wait till maybe in the winter of 2023. I will cast this on in preparation for spring and summer and have it ready to wear by then. I don't know that I will execute this any sooner than that. That said, there's 2 projects that there are no patterns for, and I don't plan to publish, but I would very much like in my wardrobe, and they are both inspired by the icon, the legend, Taylor Swift. I know you're tired of hearing me talk about Taylor Swift, but it has to happen. The first is the one I spoke about more recently. It's the open back tank top she's wearing in the Lavender Haze music video. That is one that I think I have all the yarn I need to knit. I have yet to cake that yarn and knit a swatch, but that's gonna be a May, June, July plan. The very last project I have to share with you is one that I've thought a lot about making, and I considered shopping for, never hit buy on any of those shopping carts. Because when you're shopping online, you just don't know how much it is you really need. Sometimes I have to hold it in front of me to know if this is going to be enough yarn to do what I want to do. And somehow a bunch of yarn landed in my lap, and I think I have exactly what I need to knit this. And that is the collared V-neck t-shirt Taylor Swift is wearing in her Anti-Hero music video. So my mother-in-law texted me a picture of this suitcase and asked if I wanted it, and I said, oh my god, yes I would. And inside of it, she was storing some yarn she had bought at the thrift store, and it happens to be cones of yarn from Harrisville Designs. And Harrisville Designs is one of my favorite mills. They actually mill Brooklyn Tweed's shelter yarn and loft yarns. They're a woolen spun mill, and they have a yarn in their inventory called Shetland. And I've never been a fan of this yarn. I have always refused to buy Harrisville Designs Shetland yarn because it's not from Shetland. It's not made of Shetland wool, and it's confusing because if you didn't know, you would think a yarn named Shetland had something to do with Shetland, and it simply doesn't. I think it's the fact that it's a woolen spun 2-ply, kind of medium grade fiber, best for, I think, weavers, because they do sell it straight off the cone. It's an ideal yarn for weavers. But I mean, all but this fuchsia shade are perfect options for executing that t-shirt. Now this is a little bit tealer than the light blue in the actual shirt, but I think I can make it work. I wish I had something a little softer, but I have this dark blue, and it looks black on the screen, but it's actually quite dark. And I think that once these are worked together, this teal will look much less bright, and this dark color will look a lot less dark. But I think that they make a nice contrast for the very blue portion of the sweater. And then I pulled out of my stash a couple skeins of Jamieson and Smith that I think will make up the difference in the colors that are not yet represented. I don't know, we'll see. It's a drop shoulder design. It looks rather simple to begin. I think I'm going to start from the mid back and work the burgundy portion over the shoulder, and then cast off the back neck in one row, and then begin working each side of the front separately with increases at the neck to join in a V-neck. And then once I have that worked, I can determine how much more I need to knit flat before I join in the round, finish it off, and then do a little bit of the sleeve. So this is actually more appealing to me to knit than the other because I can wear it to work. It's not an open back style, which I don't wear a lot, but now that I have the yarn, I'm like thinking like that could be really fun. This could be a really fun project. I think that's it for this week's episode. I cannot believe that happened. And I really just want to knit right now. I really want to just get something finished because I feel like I gotta get something done. I need to do something that's not cleaning because I feel like I'm just cleaning all the time. There's this band that Brian and I listen to on occasion. They're called Tired All the Time, which I thought was a brilliant name. And I feel like I'm cleaning all the time. So anyway, that is it for this week's episode of the Thread to Mend podcast. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into this week's video, let me know in a comment below with the coffee cup emoji, because we all know why. And you can follow me on Ravelry and Instagram over there with the handle Taylor EON. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you see me at Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, please stop me to say hello. I would love, love, love to meet you. And if we have ever like DM'd or had any conversation in the comments below, and you want to meet up, just message me because we can text or something and make sure that happens because y'all are just my favorite. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's garden tour. It is Thursday evening, right around 6 o'clock. It is 60 degrees. And I thought I'd show you how things are looking before I feed these cute kitties. So we have a ton of strawberry fruiting. I did move those surprise, shucks, what are they called? You know what they are, hostas, out from the row of heuchera, and they are flanking my peach tree. I've been trying to remove as much leaf curl as I can, but I find more and more of it every day. The blueberries are bluebin. We got lots of little fruits. Hopefully they'll all grow up and be nice and juicy. It's like so many fruits. And these brown-eyed Susans I'm really excited about. They have such fuzzy stems. There's one here and another here. I think I might pop this black-eyed Susan out just to give everything a little bit of a more breathing room, but I don't know, we'll see. And then I have two pink echinacea and a white anemone. And my rose bush is not struggling with aphids any longer. I think that the neem oil spray really helped deter them, but there are tons of blooms about to pop. These heucheras are so bronze and burgundy and pretty. And I just planted a Gerber daisy that I got from my boss today. So I hope it'll do well in this container. The creeping Jenny has exploded and my lilac is in bloom, which I love, but my nettles have come back strong. I actually need to top them so they grow up a little more bushy. And the shade garden, other than this sort of bare space, has really grown in very nicely. I think if I had spaced things just a little bit better, I wouldn't have anything I need to fill in. Like everything's a little too tight around the bleeding hearts because I didn't think that they would get so big. And there's all of these surprise pumpkin plants. I'm actually gonna transplant those into the Wheeler's yard next door, which you may or may not know, I'm sort of gardening this year. Give you a little sneak peek. I just established like 2 beds, that's it, and there's like nothing growing in it yet. but I'm gonna do a ton of squash and big plants that don't have room for or sunlight for. Here is a random basil that I picked up at the store. For some reason, my sweet basil seeds did not germinate this year, so I thought I'd buy a plant while I have the chance. And oh, another new thing to the garden. Scab, get back inside. Is these 2 pepper plants. That's Marble Mama. She's right between the 2 pepper plants. I put these in the ground a few days ago, and they're doing okay, even though the nights are a little cool. That center bed is chaotic. I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's just so much stuff behind those daffodils. It looks like it's snowing, but it's just cherry tree petals. We did have a really big branch fall during the storm, and I had to process it and put it into the compost bin. It's a little cooler than it should be, but right here are my black raspberries. They are chaos. And you might be able to see among them, right there, is a pawpaw tree. Here we have a second pawpaw tree right in front of me, and a third one right next to Tabby with White, who is such a good boy. Probably should clean that bird bath. I don't know what it takes to maintain a bird bath, but I probably should try. Adventurous kitties need to go back inside. Anyway, that is it for this week's garden tour. Hope you enjoyed that, and it's time to feed these cats.